I want to talk about themes of opacity and the internet in Black Dresses music. Sometimes I know what I want to say with this. Sometimes it's so clear to me. And sometimes I can't find the words to say it. But since I know that I want to, I need to at least try. I have an image of what opacity means. Speaking to a friend in December, they told me that they had recently presented at a conference talking about opacity and pedagogy. As they explained it, opacity / people's right to opacity was a trending topic in academia relating to thinking about alternatives to the idealized, transparent, modern subject. I originally envisioned including some excerpts from the literature to give more specificity to the scope of the topic. But I'm not in a place right now where I can parse through scholarship. And anyways, at this point, it would only be for the purpose of laundering the things I've come to believe and feel through the words and ideas of others. Which can be fine, but it's not what I'm trying to do here. Though it's also exactly what I'm about to be doing. I know what I want to say, so it doesn't matter to me how I say it. Who do we owe ourselves to? Do we need to explain ourselves? Do we need to succeed? The song Bliss and Stupidity from Black Dresses' album, Peaceful as Hell, off Black Dresses' 2020 album, Peaceful as Hell, opens with the lyrics.
It's okay to keep your soul hidden. Keep your secret to yourself. It's okay to be a bad singer. You can sing a special song all by yourself. It's okay if your soul is hurt. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't wanna speak a word. Caught in a sunbeam of purity. Beware from my bad behavior. Burn down, bridge to recovery.
As I interpret it, this is the crisis in the thesis of the song. That being ugly is okay, but being ugly can have a price. Just because something's okay doesn't mean other people think it's right. But so what's the answer? It's so hard when you're at war with even yourself. When you look ugly and no one understands you at all. You just want to be liked. You just want to be understood. Trying so hard to be something.
But every day is the same. It's just more of the boring shit from before. I thought it could be something different, but no, it's the same thing, only much more.
And it seems so easy. You just need to make sense, because it seems so hard that none of it makes sense. That not making sense doesn't make friends.
I just wanna be liked by I just wanna be loved by everyone. I just wanna see the stars, the moon and the sun, and feel at peace with the world. No enemies, but I'm still falling down, so chasing bliss as you could.
But of course, the irony of the song, of this video too, is that it's about trying to make yourself legible, to make into art, to make felt, that you really can't, that you just can't be understood.
Step back. still? Yeah. Okay.
I didn't start listening to Black Dresses until they had already broken up, but I didn't know that at the time. In Loose Colors, I remember the beginning of Fantano's review of Peaceful as Hell, listening to that when it first came out. Though all that stuck with me was that the band was a Canadian duo and that was their last album. I think I put it on while taking a shower once, but also everything from that time in my life is just a black hole. Just an empty void. I don't remember what music sounds like. I say this to say that I can't speak from first-hand experience about their mythology or foundation or journey or any of that. I've read accounts and listened to interviews, but these are narratives provided after the fact, and speaking to anything to this effect is just laundering the experiences of others, which again I will be doing regardless. Even though I found them late and I found them in a weird place in my life, I still found them, and I found them on the internet. Finding music on the internet isn't unique to Black Dresses. It seems to be cornerstone to the band's popularity. From what I understand, the internet is the main way their music has disseminated historically. A statement from Rook says, released on Twitter in 2020, says something about their music spreading on TikTok. In a recent interview, Devi talked about how if you're using the internet, it's either to do research or to be advertised to.
Since the internet is mostly usable to either buy things or to research things, if you're not open, maybe be careful how you use it, because either you got to have your own plan or you're going to become part of someone else's plan.
This speaks to one of the promises of the internet. As long as I've been alive, there has been rhetoric that the internet is this ultimate clarifying agent. Through it, anyone can learn anything about anything. But what does that mean? How do you survive in a world with that machine? The commercialization of the internet is relevant too. Relative to the average musician, Black Dresses have been successful. But where does this go? Where does the money go? Who gets burnt when you make it big? What gets compromised? Money doesn't come out of nowhere after all. There's always labor involved. Rook seems to reflect on this in her 2025 album Unkillable Angel with the track Party Time Sexy Disorder.
Everybody wants sympathetic like trauma core doing numbers on Spotify. Everybody wants to be so hardcore like you're real, that's great, I'm faking it's tight.
As early as their second album, Thank You, Black Dresses seemed to be aware of the precarious position they held in their being so visibly vulnerable in their music, while at the same time their success seemed to come from that very fact. Sharing the same name as their debut album, the track Waste Isolation from their 2019 album Thank You opens with the lyrics.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm not feeling good right now. Every day I just cut myself open. Every day I destroy myself. Every day it's okay, it's no problem. Every day it's just something else. I can feel you staring. I can feel you waiting for the moment when the blood flows. This is not for you or anyone else to know.
Speaking in a recent interview, Devi said that since the sudden success of Black Dresses, she's opted to become more cautious in how she approaches making art, saying that sometimes she might avoid making a song if people would be able to know what she's talking about.
That it felt like something was kind of taken away from me when my music got popular, because I was mostly using music as this way to intimately communicate with myself, and that becomes a lot harder to do when there's this big audience. Even if you're not playing to them, just when you're writing, it's hard not to like remember that there's going to be all these people looking at it, and it is harder to find that intimacy.
Is it hard to not write a line and go, oh, they're gonna love this one?
I mean, yeah, you can sometimes psych yourself up with that, or you're like, oh, I should change this because it's a little bit too true, or like someone's gonna hear this and know what I'm talking about, and I don't exactly want people to know this much about my personal life anymore.
I haven't had the same experiences in relation to fame, but I resonate with what I interpret the sentiment of Devi's comments as being. Sometimes it's safer to not tell people the truth. Some people should have the right to be opaque, after all. This is to say that opacity is in part about privacy, but in the sense of permitting people to obscure themselves or hide themselves from view. Another opacity-related idea that dovetails into this is that people should be allowed to refuse taxonomy. Categories and names can be useful, but they shouldn't be the only things we can be. Let me be ugly, let me be arcane, let me be me. The opening track from Ada Rook's 2022 album, Ugly Death, No Redemption, Angel Curse, I Love You, I'm Cis, speaks to this. She escalates these ideas in her album Unkillable Angel, what I think is kind of a follow-up to her 2022 album with the track All Tales Death Animations.
I don't want it all, I don't want the world, I don't want power. I guess I am a girl, but if I was Miles Power, I'd detransition in a heartbeat. Yeah, wait, that's it. Crash, but I miss it. Face only now, I'm breathing out. Step again, no regrets, let's get it.
I'm telling you, there's something wrong with that little girl. And I don't just mean that she's autistic.
Here, Rook complicates narratives of what being a trans girl is, what a trans girl should want. While the reference to detransition/detransitioning could mean something like trying to become more transparent in some contexts. Hello, this is editing me, interjecting to clarify what I mean here a little bit. By this, I mean that detransition can be conceived of as a mechanism to make oneself more legible, instrumental to power and hegemony. This argument goes that rightist movements can make more sense of, use of, people who have detransitioned than those who transition and remain that way. Transparency under this definition is when something does not obscure power or challenge hegemony, or does so to a comparatively lesser extent. Another way of putting this is to say that detransitioning makes oneself see-through. Someone becomes transparent in theory, in that they now blend in to a larger extent with the norm. Being see-through means being hyperlegible. The contrast to this, the opaque version, would be to be unsee-through. While I can't say that Rook counters this transparency process of detransitioning, the way she talks about it reads to me as though for her, detransition is more imminently a site of rejecting taxonomy. During lockdown, and probably earlier, there was a popular narrative that suggested that trans femme musicians make good music because they are trans femme, on account of their transness, that is. Whereas the song I'm Cis already demonstrates Rook's resistance to being categorized in this way, the mention of detransition in All Tales Death Animations reads to me as an escalation of that resistance. Not only am I not trans, but were I Miles Prower, I'd detransition. This is a gesture of opacity because it corrupts attempts to make Rook transparent/legible on the account of her transness, which in turn is predicated on conceiving of being trans as a discrete and legible state rather than a process or thing to be negotiated over. The subsequent mention of cringe suggests that it instead means something like challenging what people tell you you are. When I was younger, I embraced cringe much more openly, but after my family moved to the suburbs, I felt I had to start distancing myself from it. It's not necessarily that I regret this, but I wish I didn't have to. I wish it was safer to be cringe. Talking about the topic of cringe in a radio interview, Devi speaks about how it's important for artists to embrace cringe and how it's almost unavoidable to be cringe when making art.
But I think genuine cringe is really, really important right now, because I think a lot of people feel like they have to perform this type of perfectness and flawlessness. And if they do perform a flaw, it's the flaw that's like so focus grouped and socially acceptable to be a flaw. But if people can't be themselves in a more messy way, then if people are holding themselves back from that, then they're actually holding themselves from those learning opportunities that would come from being cringe. What's interesting about a song is seeing someone go up there and embarrass themselves. Because there's never a good reason to make a song when you could actually do something else. Like, if you set out to make a song, you're already making a mistake, and the mistake is making a song. So why would you make a song inside the song you're pretending you're a person who would never make a mistake? That's a lie. You made a song. You're cringe. Like, you make a song, there better be someone getting humiliated doing it. I'm not interested in seeing someone's like perfect like manicured aesthetic. I want to know like the flaws of a person are cute if you get to like them and get to know them.
Since finishing undergrad last year, I've been at a number of crossroads in my life. And it's so frustrating to spend so much time thinking about what I want to do and who I want to be, and yet constantly getting told that these things are not okay, that I have to do something else, that I have to hide myself or rethink my choices, that I'm making a mistake. But I live my life, and I said it because I meant it.
I don't want anybody to see me as a person anymore.
And if that's what it takes, then yeah, I'm not even a person. I'm not certain what Rook intended the line to mean in the song, but I resonate with how I interpret it. If that's what being a person is to you, someone who's transparent, then leave me out of it. You're not treating me like a person anyways. There's an internet history of making fun of cringe culture. People making fun of furries and other autistic people for being opaque and ugly, but fuck them. Let people be opaque. Let people do things you don't understand. It has to be okay. It has to. The internet can make everyone seem so close to each other, and it lets all these pained people see each other much easier. They can make community, they can relate, but why do you have to be so clear? Why do you have to be so clear? You should be allowed to be ugly, truly ugly. You should be allowed not to be a role model, not to be a person people look at, not to be a person people tie themselves up into, to not always be that. Or so what these songs work through is fame and the exploits therein, but I think it's specifically fame is modulated by the internet, which is a different kind of fame from that of prior times. Call it parasocial, call it whatever you want. It's hyper-legible, but it shouldn't have to be. People should have the right to opacity. Sure, we live in a world where, with others, sure, there are consequences to our actions, but it should be an option. People should have a right. And people should respect that right of others, because it's not even possible to be so clear. You can try to make yourself a person, someone people can see. You even try to be see-through, but you can't. It's not possible to understand people so fully. The band sings about the illegibility of pain on the song Understanding from their 2021 album Forever in Your Heart.
I tried to offer up my pain to be understood. But I don't think that it's my pain that can be understood. Or needs understanding. There's not a lot of pain in the world that makes any sense. Maybe people need to be understood instead.
Maybe people need to be understood instead.
So dumb, I never get it. I find it out in the mix. It's already too late for us to fix.
people are hard to understand, and it's important to understand that too. But what and what is a person? What do they have to do?
That thing is not a person. We can break that spell. We can always kill something that never lived. And if that doesn't work, someone might find out where you live. Your pictures are all on the internet. Who to be afraid if the world ends? Something that you might expect. 2019, who's really left to be afraid of death?
I don't want to be a person. That should be an option. And in a way that doesn't make you an object. That doesn't make you into a thing made translucent by the internet. What seems to be at stake in working through these ideas comes to a head with the song Gay, Ugly, and Hard to Understand off the 2022 album Forget Your Own Face.
Ugly and hard to understand. I thought that people could handle it, but they can't, but they can. I don't want to let you have it. I don't want to let you have it. I don't want to let you have it. You can't run it. This shit's not on trash. This shit's not on trash. This shit's not prison. I'm just doing my shit. I'm just doing my shit. You can never do it like this.
You can become so opaque that you forget your own face. Being opaque is ugly. Being opaque is hard to understand. Being opaque isn't for other people. It's not clear what it is. You can try to make yourself clear. That's your right, but you don't have to be. That's your right too. Being clear and being queer can't happen together. It makes sense to want transparency. That's the standard of the world we grow up in. That's the promise of the internet. It can clarify the unknown. We grow up in a world that already exists, in a world that already has the internet, in a world where people already ask for clarity. We don't know who we are or who we will be, and by the time we are, other people already have been. It's too late, and we have to keep going. Devi meditates on this, the double binds of curiosity and adolescence in the song Mistake from Forever in Your Heart.
As a young kid, I studied the unknown on the internet. Sacred geometries, Metatron's cube, the flower of life, the world soul. You know all that when you're a kid. You know you want to try and understand the world, try and find your place in it. People love to tell you your place in it, but isn't that just for them? Isn't it always just for them? But it makes sense to want to know what your place in the world should be. But it's not for them. It's never, ever been just for them.
It makes sense to want transparency, but it's not your right to demand that of others, and it's not other people's right to demand that of you. Not even on the internet. Even though it makes sense to want to use the internet for what it says it was made to do. So yeah, become unsee-through.
I want you to make my skin